Indeed, an environmentalist. You know him, you know his music, but if you don't know what he stands for, he is very concerned about the problems facing all of us and facing the Earth. Please welcome John Denver. How are you?
Hi, Matt.
Nice to see you. Thank you. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing great. I'm a little tired running back and forth, Washington to New York and Colorado and L.A., all this stuff to promote Earth Day.
And back to Washington over the weekend, where I know you'll be?
Well, I go back this afternoon right after we finish this. I've got a couple more interviews and Crossfire tonight. That should be interesting.
And most people think of John Denver, they think he is a wholesome, outdoorsy type. Have you always lived your life in a way that you would describe as environmentally safe or secure?
Well, I think to the degree that I knew how to do that, yes. I've learned a great deal over the last few years. In fact, just this past year, we replaced all the light bulbs in my house with neon and reduced the energy that we were using by over 60%.
20 years ago, if you told that story, somebody would say, John Denver's kind of quirky. He's a little kooky. Have you seen the acceptance grow?
Well, yeah, to a large degree. You know, it's impossible to pick up a newspaper anymore, a magazine. Even women's fashion magazines are having articles about the environment. So things that a lot of us have been talking about for over 20 years now are really in the forefront of everything that's going on in our society. It's impossible not to know about the problems, and it's getting to be harder and harder not to know that you can do something, that what you do makes a difference.
Obviously, you've got a name. You can get your foot in the door and talk to people and make a difference, and a lot of times we associate that with celebrity. But a long time now, we haven't looked at Hollywood and the Los Angeles community as the most healthy, natural community. Are things turning around in Hollywood and with our celebrities?
Well, I don't know. I don't live in Hollywood.
I live in Aspen, or outside.
Colorado. To a degree, you see changes taking place. And, you know, I'm excited about what you guys are doing here, that this station has made a commitment to the environment in your programming and what you're doing around the studios, everything. So I think that's great. That's a real form of leadership. More and more it's coming to the fore in Hollywood. There are shows that are trying to do things. They're trying not to have so much smoking on their programs. They're having programs that have to do with the environment. They're having programs that have to do with ending hunger, programs that have to do with the homeless. Little things are coming even to the situation comedies. So there is, it's being felt there. It is changing, and in a positive way, I think, and a lot more can be done.
You have written a lot of articles. One of the articles I read talked about commitment. It talked about cooperation. If we're going to make this work, we have to expect cooperation, but can we force cooperation? Can we make other people do these things?
Well, I think that's part of what comes out of commitment and living and doing everything that you can to create a healthy environment and a sustainable future. By example, you bring other people along. And before it's all over, it's going to take all of us truly working together. We need to create a global community. We need to work together, all of us, to solve the problems that confront us. And these problems are as serious as can be imagined, depending on who you talk to. In the next 10 to 40 years is the most conservative estimate. We will determine in our lifetime whether or not the Earth remains inhabitable by human beings. Now, that's not to say that the world is going to end tomorrow, but we will have set in place aspects of what goes on in life environmentally that are irreversible.
A lot of people, though, you know, we talked about the rainforest earlier, and people say, that's thousands of miles from here, and it's tough to feel the impact today on our lives in this area.
It's hard to imagine, you know, the impact that we have, you know, the things industrially that go on in this country that affect the forest and the lakes in Canada. What went on in the Soviet Union with Chernobyl all of a sudden had us realize that there are things that happen in our countries that can have a very disastrous effect outside of our borders. The world is, in fact, getting smaller and smaller, and this thing called the rainforest is the home of an incredible diversity of life, far beyond anything that we know and understand. I heard this morning that we only know 1% of the diversity of life. We've actually cataloged and put in place and know a 1% of all the different kinds of plant and animal life that there are living in the rainforest. And out of that 1% has come over 25% of the pharmaceuticals that we use. So it's not just conjecture to think that in the rainforest, in the plant kingdom, is perhaps the cure to AIDS, the cure to many kinds of cancer. There's a biologist in St. Louis, Missouri, who talked about the fact that we're burning down the Earth's libraries before we really know what's in them.
You have one of the songs out, and we should mention that, you know, one of your record is distributed by kind of an unconventional means. We're not looking at the big record companies here. It's the Wildlife Foundation.
Yeah, this is the WinStar Foundation, which I formed in 1976 with a friend of mine, Tom Crum, has just created a new partnership with the National Wildlife Federation. We feel that this is the decade of the environment, and that something new needs to be done, something more than we've ever done before. And one of the ways that we're expressing this partnership is I'm releasing an album that's basically all of the songs that I've done over the years that are environmentally oriented, like Rocky Mountain High, Sunshine on My Shoulders, Calypso, To the Wild Country, things like that, plus a couple of new songs. And the only way that you can get this is through the National Wildlife Federation. One
of the new songs, Raven's Child.
Raven's Child.
Not subtle for John Denver. These are not subtle lyrics. You're very tough in these.
Well, I think it's time to be tough. I think it's time to be very, very straightforward. I think it's time, you know, if you show this video, there's some rough scenes in it, but this is what we need to confront. This is what we need to face up to if we're going to make our world, our life sustainable.
Let's show it. John Denver, Raven's Child.
Raven's child is chasing salvation. Black beaks turn white from the crack and the snow. On the streets of despair, the answer is simple. A spoonful of mercy can set free the soul. The drug king sits on his arrogant throne, away and above and afar. Even children are twisted to serve him. Greed has corrupted what once was a heart.
Tough pictures to look at, but I guess we have to look at them.
Well, it gets a lot stronger. So that's about drugs, which is one of the most serious problems in our society all over the world. The next verse is about arms and the arms merchants. It says, the arms king sits on his arrogant throne, and greed makes a stone of what once was a heart. Bankers assure him that he needn't care. So the second verse is about arms, and there's some pretty vicious footage in that. The third verse came out of in fact, the song, the catalyst for the song was visiting Prince William Sound last summer and seeing the oil spill up there. We went in the end of August, the first week of September, just before Exxon said they had finished cleaning up the sound. And, you know, it was an obscenity what I saw. Although there were not pools of oil and dead animals lying around, the shoreline was covered with a film of oil, and as far down as you dug, there was oil turning into this sticky substance like tar, and it's turning into asphalt. And we visited a piece of shoreline that had been treated not once but twice. And although on the surface there was not this film, the rocks were only discolored as high as the tide line. As you dug down 6 inches, 8 inches, there was that oil again, as far down as you could go. And when they, you know, they lied when they said an accident wouldn't happen. There were a lot of us who were saying we've got to be very careful about this pipeline going across the Alaskan wilderness and what's possible there in Prince William Sound. And they said an accident will not happen. That was a lie. They said also that if it does happen, we are prepared and we will take care of it. And that was a lie. And now they tell us that they've done a job up there, and I'm telling you, I've been there, that was a lie. And I don't intend to let them get away with it.
And it's important that not only do citizens get involved, but we get our lawmakers involved, because these people have got to pass tough laws to stop this sort of thing.
That's absolutely right. Well, some of the regulations have been there, and the EPA was set up, and they've done a great job. A lot of things have been accomplished, but we've got a long way to go. And the thing is that some of these regulations are not really enforced. They need to be stiffer, and they absolutely need to be enforced. And we, the people, need to let the lawmakers know that we want clean air, we want clean water, we want a healthy environment.
We're going to be hearing from some of those lawmakers later, because we've sent a friend of yours, Roland Smith, down to Washington, and he is live with us right now because I know he wants to say hello. Roland, good morning.
Good morning, Matt. Good morning, John. How you doing?
Hiya, Roland. Nice to see you again.
You bet. I've been listening to your conversation with Matt, John, and I'm kind of curious myself, you know, since we've known each other for several years, particularly through WinStar, your foundation. You've just had a new baby. What kind of hope do you have for your child when she grows up?
Well, Roland, I've always been an optimist, and I do feel positive about the future, especially in light of what's going on this week. But my greatest hope, nature has had such an incredible influence on my life. Certainly, it permeates my music. It has to do with everything that I care about. And I want my little daughter, Jessie Bell, and I want my son, Zach, and Anna Kate, to be able to, in fact, I want all children to be able to enjoy the things that have been such a meaningful part of my life. And I will do everything that I can to ensure that that is possible for my children and for all children, as long as there are children on this planet.
Are you seeing hope, though, John? Now, you've been in the environmental movement for a number of years now. Are you seeing some positive action?
Well, there are positive actions, and the best part of it is the kind of media attention that has come about over the last, I would say, 18 months, and really, to a large degree, peaking this week. Over 150 countries around the world, several 100 million people or more are going to participate in Earth Day. And it's now something that truly is a part of everybody's consciousness. And in my mind, the first step in any real change in society is education. And people know now what's going on. To a large degree, we really know the solution to all of the problems that we're facing. And the most critical problem that I think concerns us now is, what does it take to get people like you and me and the people here in this audience and watching on television, what does it take for us to act? What does it take to move people to action?
They need to know, I guess, that there are organizations all around the world, and particularly in this country, that they can participate in for environmental awareness and to help. Organizations like WinStar. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the WinStar Foundation is an environmental education foundation founded in 1976 in Colorado. You've been one of our strongest supporters, Roland, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. We've just created a partnership with the National Wildlife Federation, as I mentioned earlier. That's the largest environmental organization in the world. I've long been a supporter, and I'm on the board of advisors of the Cousteau Society myself and Friends of the Earth. There are an enormous number of rapidly growing environmental organizations all over the world. And the thing is, for each one of us to find one that is sort of in alignment with the things that we care about. If you're interested in clean water or in clean oceans, it might be the Cousteau Society. If you're interested in wilderness and wildlife, it might be the National Wildlife Federation. But find an organization that is a reflection of what you feel and what you care about, and join them. Get involved.
And John Denver, we want to thank you. And Roland Smith, we're going to check back in with you in just a little while, right? Who do you have with us?
Nice talking with you. I have Senator Al Gore talking about the environment also.
All right, Roland, thanks again. We'll see you in a few minutes.
See you,
Raleigh.
And John Denver, you could have been a lot of places today. We're glad you stopped by to spend some time.
I'm glad I could be here, man.
All right.
Thank
John
you.
Denver.